Zoey faced a dilemma when she accidentally stumbled upon her boss Tristan's affair. Should she report it, pretend she didn't see anything, or take some other course of action? This unexpected encounter occurred when her friend invited her to a weekend getaway. While relaxing at a hotel, Zoey witnessed Tristan checking into a room intimately with another woman. Upon questioning the hotel staff, she learned that this was not Tristan's first visit. Disappointed by his repeated actions, Zoey thought about Tristan's wife, whom she had met during a team-building event. The wife was a dynamic businesswoman who owned her own company. Tristan seemed caring and protective during their joint gaming sessions. Little did anyone suspect that he was a habitual cheater. Reflecting on the contrast between Tristan's public and private personas, Zoey couldn't help but recall the wife's previous praises. However, the reality was different, and Tristan was just another unfaithful man behind closed doors. As Zoey pondered the unreliability of men, a familiar sound of high heels echoed in the lobby. To her surprise, it was the strong businesswoman, the wife. Zoey wondered if she had come to confront Tristan. This could be quite a spectacle, and Zoey decided to discreetly follow and even record the events using her phone camera. Observing closely, Zoey realized that the wife wasn't there to catch Tristan. Instead, she seemed to have a business meeting planned, likely related to the nearby golf course. Disappointed, Zoey considered abandoning her surveillance. However, her excitement returned when she spotted Tristan and his mistress exiting the elevator, likely heading to the cafe. Coincidentally, the wife was also walking towards that direction after exchanging pleasantries with someone. The cafe was conducive to private discussions with its secluded booths, making it an ideal spot for couples but also increasing the risk of being discovered. Zoey, now reinvigorated, decided to witness Tristan's awkward situation. Disguised with sunglasses and a large hat, she entered the cafe. The wife had not yet noticed Tristan, who sat at a corner that was not immediately visible. Choosing a seat that allowed her to observe both sides, Zoey tilted slightly to the left, ensuring she had a clear view of Tristan. Unaware of being watched, Tristan shared a moment with his mistress. Smiling indulgently, he reached to adjust her hair, and she responded by holding onto his hand, fingers entwined on the table. To accommodate this, Tristan held his coffee cup with his left hand. If Zoey didn't know about Tristan's marriage, she might have admired the seemingly affectionate couple. It was a pity, though, as they turned out to be nothing more than a pair of unfaithful individuals. Zoey watched as Tristan, with a myriad of expressions, sweet-talked his mistress, her mind flashing with mixed emotions. She had been working under Tristan for 2 to 3 years, enduring his strict, or rather, harsh demeanor. Many times, her reports were torn apart, and once during a meeting, he threw her file in front of her, accusing her of having a mind filled with nonsense and telling her to leave and clean up her brain. Despite the humiliation, Zoey couldn't afford to leave. Securing a position in the company was already a stroke of luck, and leaving meant jeopardizing her livelihood. So, she persisted, enduring each assessment with just passing marks. Tristan had never shown her a favorable expression, and she harbored both fear and resentment towards him. Whenever she saw him at the office, her instinct was to avoid him. Lost in her thoughts, Zoey felt a bitter taste in her mouth. Wasn't she even worthy of a smile from him? She cast a malicious glance in the direction of the strong businesswoman, silently praying for her to stand up, take a stroll, and witness the betrayal of her supposedly good man. Zoey fantasized about Tristan being exposed, humbled, and crawling on his knees, begging for forgiveness while the world condemned him. Lost in her vivid imagination, Zoey couldn't help but chuckle. Suddenly, her phone flashed, a message from her roommate stating she would move out by the end of the month. The reality hit Zoey hard. The apartment was a simple one-bedroom, and she could save 200 yuan by sleeping in the living room. Ideally, she wanted to live alone, but the additional 1,000 yuan in rent would strain her already tight budget. If only she could get a raise. Then, a thought crossed Zoey's mind. The company had recently mentioned hiring an assistant for Tristan, and the salary seemed to be higher than hers. She quickly inquired with colleagues and confirmed that the assistant position did come with a 2,000 yuan higher salary. With this extra money, she could afford to live on her own. In the past, the idea of becoming Tristan's assistant would never have crossed her mind. She feared him, and she doubted he would even consider her. However, the situation had changed. Tristan now had a vulnerability, and Zoey envisioned not only holding that leverage over him but also making him feel indebted for her assistance. Zoey discreetly slipped a tip to the waiter, prompting a subtle disturbance near Tristan. The waiter, seemingly inattentive, accidentally dropped a tray of cups, capturing the attention of the strong businesswoman. As the two groups locked eyes, the woman stood up, and a confrontation seemed imminent. Sensing trouble brewing, Zoey quickly stood up, pretending to be out of breath as she approached Tristan and his mistress. Apologetically, she explained that the route was a bit complicated, causing a delay. Turning to the strong businesswoman, Zoey expressed surprise, remarking on the woman's lack of weekend rest. Drawing closer, she lowered her voice, sharing a fabricated story about a client entrusting them with the care of his daughter, who happened to love strawberries. There was a nearby strawberry farm, and Zoey suggested, "Sis, why don't you join us?" The mistress looked too young and casually dressed for a business meeting, so they had to spin the story of her being a client's daughter. Seeing the strawberry farm entrance card in Zoey's hand, the businesswoman's expression softened. Politely declining, she mentioned having plans with another client and didn't want to disrupt their discussion. Zoey cheerfully responded, "Sis, you've worked hard." Tristan, not one to be outdone, initially flustered by the unexpected appearance of the businesswoman, seamlessly joined in Zoey's fabricated tale. Tristan, casting a slightly displeased look at Zoey, remarked, "You took quite a while. Miss Zhu couldn't wait." In this coded message, Tristan revealed the mistress's last name, Zhu. Coincidentally, their company had a recent high-profile client with the surname Zhu. The businesswoman chimed in, defending Zoey, mentioning the dedication to work on a weekend and advising Tristan not to skimp on overtime pay. Zoey happily replied, "Thanks, sis, for your concern. Manager Tristan is not stingy, he won't cut any corners on overtime pay." With the stage set, Zoey continued the charade. She truly led Tristan, along with his mistress, to the strawberry farm. On the way, she explained that she had originally planned to go with her friend, and the opportunity had just presented itself. From that point, they maintained a silent understanding, and no further mention was made. Tristan, still playing his part, kept a modest distance from his mistress, appearing to keep up the act. However, Zoey had already captured the lingering intimacy between them in the cafe. On Monday, as usual, the workday began with an early meeting for reports. Zoey used to dread this part, fearing Tristan would find some fault and mercilessly criticize her. Sometimes, even a single misspelled word would earn her scolding. This time, however, in order to confirm a suspicion, she intentionally included a wrong piece of data in her report. To her delight, when Tristan noticed the mistake, he merely set the report aside without reprimanding her. Zoey felt a surge of joy, he was indeed wary now. In the past, she would have received a torrent of criticism for a similar error. She proudly straightened her posture, and her colleagues noticed the change, asking her what was going on. In the past, she would have wanted to shrink into an egg during these early meetings. Zoey confidently replied, "I've realized that confidence makes work more beautiful." Later, Tristan called Zoey to his office. Initially nervous, she wondered if it was about the mistake in the data. However, Tristan simply reminded her to be careful next time. The real reason he called her in was to discuss overtime pay, a matter he privately took care of. Both knew the unspoken reason behind it. Zoey discreetly assured him of her discretion, pledging not to divulge unnecessary information. In an unprecedented move, Tristan even gave her a smile. Seizing the opportunity, Zoey brought up the assistant position, and Tristan, suppressing a smile, mentioned it was under consideration. Quick to express her admiration, Zoey stated she would love the opportunity to learn from Tristan. While Tristan remained silent at the time, a few days later, he assigned Zoey to accompany him for a client meeting. Despite her clumsy mishaps, he handled the aftermath gracefully, displaying an unexpected level of patience. Empowered by these experiences, Zoey felt that the assistant role was practically within her grasp. She even found gratitude for Tristan's affair, believing it elevated her standing within the company. Later on, the company had a batch of orders that required reconsideration of suppliers. Having initially interacted with suppliers A and B, both overseen by Tristan, Zoey couldn't discern much of a difference between them. When Tristan inquired about her thoughts, she honestly shared her perspective. Soon after, Tristan got entangled in other matters and handed over the supplier decision-making to Zoey, implying it was part of the assistant's duties to go through such processes. Zoey nodded in understanding. Taking this responsibility seriously, Zoey diligently interacted with both suppliers. Despite her slightly deceptive approach to securing the assistant position, she genuinely wanted to avoid any future disdain in the workplace. She believed that choosing either of the suppliers wouldn't make a significant difference, prices were comparable, and the quality of the products seemed equally satisfactory, making either option viable. Zoey's newfound assertiveness caught the attention of individuals from Company A. They approached her privately, making an offer with a suggestive gesture. Shocked, Zoey, hesitant to engage in such unethical practices, sought Tristan's guidance. In a businesslike tone, he remarked that the company would go with whoever was suitable. Disappointed, Zoey felt she missed a great opportunity. However, individuals from Company A persisted, emphasizing the prevalence of such practices and citing other companies that had already accepted their offer. Tempted, Zoey considered the idea. After all, receiving kickbacks seemed commonplace. If Tristan didn't agree, it was his problem, and as long as he remained unaware, she thought it would be fine. A clever move from Company A assured Zoey that the deal would remain confidential. She decided to create a plausible reason to choose them over Company B, even suggesting a symbolic reduction in price for appearance's sake. Company A agreed, lowered the price slightly, and handed Zoey 5,000 yuan upfront as a sign of their sincerity, promising the remainder upon contract signing. Ecstatic with the unexpected money, Zoey decided to stick closely to Tristan, anticipating more such opportunities in the future. Once again, she expressed gratitude for his affair, as it paved the way for these extra, albeit questionable, earnings. Rushing to inform Tristan of her decision to sign with Company A, she confidently stated that they were cheaper than Company B. Tristan agreed, but he didn't sign immediately, citing changes in the finance department and the need for the new responsible person to finalize the signature. Thinking the deal was sealed, Zoey happily relayed the good news to Company A, asking them to await confirmation. However, to her shock, half a month later, the contract was signed with Company B. Confused and frustrated, she confronted Tristan, questioning why they didn't go with Company A, as agreed. Tristan, without lifting his head, simply stated that Company B was a better fit. Zoey, infuriated, thought of the 5,000 yuan she had spent and the remaining kickbacks now out of reach. It all turned into a nightmare. The situation worsened when Company A, having trusted Zoey's assurance, invested in production. However, the deal fell through, resulting in losses and unsellable products. Furious, they confronted Zoey's company, quickly uncovering her involvement. Consequently, she was not only fired but faced legal threats if she didn't compensate Company A for their losses. Staring at Company A, once so eager to please her, now wearing the face of a disgruntled creditor, Zoey couldn't help but shiver at the consequences of her actions. Zoey, filled with anger, confronted Tristan, blaming him for not signing with Company A, which would have kept her kickback dealings under wraps. Tristan, unmoved, pointed out that A and B seemed similar, but Zoey's attempt to undercut A's price was misguided. He revealed that A had financial troubles, and their desperation might compromise the quality of the products. Feeling betrayed, Zoey realized she had been set up. Tristan knew about A's financial situation but failed to inform her earlier. She accused him of using her affair with kickbacks as a pretext to justify her dismissal. However, nobody believed her, and her industry reputation was tarnished. Unable to find another job, Zoey struggled financially, unable to afford rent. Fueled by anger, she decided to expose Tristan's affair to the powerful woman in the company. The woman, however, calmly questioned why Zoey hadn't informed her earlier and accused her of lacking integrity. The woman revealed that Tristan had planned his exit on the day Zoey discovered his affair. He had dealt with any potential repercussions and initiated divorce proceedings. Zoey, left feeling lost and defeated, wandered the streets, replaying the day she caught Tristan cheating. Reflecting on her actions, Zoey realized her misguided attempts to manipulate the situation had backfired. She regretted not reporting Tristan immediately or handling the supplier situation more competently. Her own devious actions had led to her downfall. Now facing demands for compensation from Company A, with no job offers and a looming eviction, Zoey sat on the ground, tears and snot mingling as the cold wind painted a clownish picture of her despair.